Here we are. Ducks Don't Get Cold Feet, number 12. Here with Dorothy Di Stefano. And Dorothy, we have something in common. It's the first time this has ever happened on the podcast. I'm speaking with another 2019 LinkedIn top voice.
How cool are we?
Very cool. So exciting to have you on board here.
Thrilled to be here.
And we had a bit of a look about some of the stuff that you comment about and have talked about. And I found it absolutely fascinating. A lot of it, I guess it could be termed immersive digital art. Yep. Is that a technical term?
It's a term. It's the technical term, but it's a really hard thing to explain, I guess, because everything's quite diverse and it depends on the scale of things and what you use. But generally, we create stuff that's got a digital element to it, and that people can walk in and kind of experience it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And I think we'll have to leave a few links around somewhere so that people can actually see this, because it's almost a bit hard to comprehend with some of the things that you're talking about. You're talking about kinetic energy, you're talking about digital bass, you're talking about all sorts of things that involve computer, analog algorithms and things like that.
Absolutely. AI, all fancy schmancy stuff. Yeah.
So cool. I'm pretty excited because this is going to be an interesting podcast. But I guess what we want to do is start to get back into it. And, you're obviously here in South Australia in Adelaide. Mm-hmm. I've noticed that you do live here, I think.
Yes, that's correct.
Have you always lived in South Australia?
So I was born here, but my parents are European, so mother's Italian, father's Bulgarian, or the other way around. And so we lived in Europe for about 8 years when I was younger. Don't remember too much of that, but obviously there's quite a cultural influence in our upbringing, and that translates to our upbringing with the arts and music in general. So,
were your parents into art at all?
So my mother was, yeah. So that kind of, she forced me into it, I guess.
I'm assuming your mother wasn't into digital.
No, it was more musical. So it was, we started learning musical instruments, and it kind of started from there, I guess. And then from there, I kind of really had this passion for audio engineering. So then I went to study audio engineering, and from there I thought, I'd really like to learn how to do computer graphics. So I went and did a multimedia course, and I'd done some marketing, and so it was all this like mishmash of stuff and at 36 I went, what am I going to do with my life, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of just combined it all, and I started a graphic design agency. So that's kind of where it started. And then that kind of morphed to video production and animation. And then one day it was kind of like a lightning bolt moment where I went to see someone talk about the power of experiences. And I kind of went, you know what, tomorrow we're not doing that anymore. We're going to be fully doing this immersive art stuff. And we just dove into it.
So this is the flash time to say you pivoted.
A pivot. That's
hey? That word one
Sexy
more time.
Pivot.
So if we go back to, you were born, so in Europe, what ages were you there at school?
Probably,
or
no.
Was it before school?
It was just before school, yeah.
Okay, and then after you've been brought up, then you come back to Adelaide?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, so in that period of time, you got to Adelaide and you went to school here too.
So I couldn't speak the language, so I was this little Italian kid.
So you're full Italian.
Full Italian, salami sandwiches and everything.
We were lucky enough to be speaking to Angelo from Bickford's, and he was the same, exactly the same as you. So I had a language, came here and was thrown into a school. Okay, start to learn English.
Yeah.
Is that
exactly?
It's amazing that happens. Like you look at it now, and I think with my kids, when I go to France and go, here you go, you're learning French, I don't think I could.
But you know what? You pick it up so fast because you just don't want to be the odd person in the room. So you just kind of dive into it. And as a kid, you just learn stuff really quickly. So it wasn't an issue. So
you're at school. Yeah. You get to high school. Was there any interest? Were you into paint? Or were you into drawing? Or, I'm that weird kind of person that stares at clouds and goes, oh, look how awesome they are. Or just, looks at butterflies and goes, wow, that's really amazing. Like I just kind of stop and look at things. I went to Marrickville High School and you had to audition
musically to get into that school. So, you know, it kind of started there, but I've just always been obsessed with art, but more so things like new age art, I guess, like street artists and that kind of stuff.
So would you say coming from Europe, you've got an influence from things over there, or was too young?
Too young.
Yeah. And when you came here, I'm assuming your mum and dad came as well.
Yeah, that's correct.
So did they influence anything over or not? They really let you live your life? Look at the butterflies.
Well, yeah, maybe they thought I was a bit strange. I don't know.
These days they'd say you're on the spectrum.
Yeah, I probably am. That's another conversation. No, I think it was just me. That's just who I am, you know. Like it's just I really stop and notice things. Even people, like I'll notice when someone's had a haircut. Like oh, you've just had a haircut, even if there's no hair to cut. You know what I mean? Like that's just who I am.
Wow. So would you say that you live? So there's people you either live in the past, or live in the present.
So I have no recollection of the past.
Okay, so you're a moment on. You are present and forward.
I'm right here. Yeah.
I believe that's how I live.
Yeah.
And I don't think many people do.
No, a lot of people hold on to the past, don't they?
Yeah. Tightly, because they don't want the past to let go. And there's always things in the past that happens that are good, and people want to remember those. And there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes you miss like what you just did. Did something just fall over?
That was my. Something
that's
in my pocket, I think. Yeah, sorry. just being noisy over here.
So when you talk about being in the moment, I think there's a lot of people that find it difficult to be in the moment, and I think it's really important to appreciate things in the moment, and you obviously do that, and you don't even try to do that. That's just standard, huh?
No, and that's why I appreciate. You know, a lot of the posts that I put up of other artists doing their thing, like I really appreciate what goes into doing that. Like a lot of people just look at it and go, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But the amount of effort that goes into that, the creativity, like, you know, all of that, it's the combination of all that and that passion that they put into something. It's just unbelievable.
And I think that sort of, you probably have seen, is that Banksy Takes New York.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I like the look. I'm like one of you explained to me. Oh, you like the look of it, and I appreciate how it gets there. Yeah. And then when you combined multi-sensory, whether it's computers or graphics or scenery, or air blowing or whatever it is, it really adds to the experience. And,
absolutely.
And looking at your stuff, you've taken an experience level. And now you're going, okay, let's go totally digital with the experience.
Absolutely. And it's even more than that. So if we look at Vivid Sydney, so I met with the founders recently.
What a cool show. I actually
amazing, right?
Don't tell anyone this, but I flew my drone up Vivid.
Legal.
and it was the day before. So we were there, and I had my drone. I was like, this looks awesome. So I flew the drone up, and it was the day before Vivid.
Yeah.
And I have some wild drone footage of that because they were doing a test run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably shouldn't have said that.
No.
Go on.
We can cut that out later.
Let's talk about Vivid.
So anyway, I met with the founders, and they said, what used to work doesn't work anymore because it was all about projections and big lizards climbing up the sides of walls, and people want to engage with it a lot more. So they want to interact with it. They want to touch things. They want to smell things. They want to really, really interact with stuff now. So the industry is evolving super fast. And we've just got to keep up. We're like constantly running. To keep up with what's happening.
Well, welcome to our world. I think the supermarket game is exactly that. If we're not doing new things or having good experience for the customer,
absolutely,
or giving them some cool stuff, why would they want to come into the shop?
Absolutely.
And there's a percentage of people that hate shopping, and there's a percentage that love it. And I'm lucky I love it, thank God. But I enjoy the experience, and I do that wherever I go. So if I'm in a clothes store, a shoe store, or just wherever it is, I'm going to enjoy the experience. I even enjoyed buying a pair of Joker shoes the other day. I was talking about the Dark Knight. And then next minute on Instagram came up these Joker shoes, and they go, why so serious? That's such a cool saying.
Brilliant.
And I was like, fuck, I bought it and I enjoyed it. And then afterwards I thought, what the fuck did I just do? How did that know that I wanted that? It was within an hour of talking about it.
Yeah.
Amazing. So if you talk about changing and evolving, what sort of time frame has this been, has it been since the millennial, like year 2000, or has it been a lot more, it's getting more rapid as the years go on?
Well, it's getting more rapid prior to, obviously, the pandemic.
Yeah.
Didn't want to raise that, but there it is.
Yeah. No, that's, I mean, it's happened.
But we're in it. Yeah, okay. So, prior to that, it was growing exponentially really, really fast. So globally, it's like the biggest market in the arts industry is immersive experiences, and they were just going insane. So as an example, there's an exhibition in New York called the Museum of Ice Cream. Don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
So they have 5 locations now, and it started as a pop-up, and they earned like $500 million in a year, and just insane numbers. And in what is essentially just an Instagrammable moment venue.
Yeah.
But it was all about...
Okay. Can you talk us through it?
Yeah, sure. So in essence, they used a lot of pastel and big bananas and lots of sprinkles, and people could dive into the sprinkles and slide down.
Oh, no. I saw it. I thought it was like for taking photos and stuff like that, no?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's what it is. It's an Instagram moment.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Instagram. Yeah. So, but, it's just the power of those things are called location-based entertainment, but it's the power of, this is what people want. They want to engage with stuff. Like seeing people roll around in sprinkles is just, it's hilarious, right?
Were they like real sprinkles?
No, they're like larger, large plastic or something.
Because I saw some photos from it.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. So
they had donuts there as well?
I think you can buy donuts, but then they have massive ice creams and other bits and pieces. So, yeah.
So you're into all that style of art? Like that's the part that's bringing art to people, really? Like, and maybe to the younger generation.
Yeah, it is. Look, and I think, there's so many different kinds of art now, and I think people are getting more involved, more engaged and more involved in art, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Because you don't want it to be something that toffee nose people are buying. It's not about that. It's about everyone. It's about going to the masses, right? Was I allowed to say that?
You can, 100%. You can say whatever you like.
Yeah, but art's for everybody, and it's really important for community and, for people's well-being, and, it's got so many health benefits. So, the fact that it's reaching so many people is just amazing.
And I love the fact with art that it's able to express things however you are expressing at that time for the artist.
Absolutely.
And as a person watching it, you can come in and get something totally different to someone else walking past, and then someone else walking past, and that's what makes art. It's kind of like wine, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's so different to everyone.
Absolutely. And a lot of people try and get quite into it, and they pretend they understand it, or they overanalyze it, and that's not really what art's about. It's just about like you're saying, like your perception of what that is.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily what the artist's perception of what that is. It's
totally.
how it makes you feel when you're viewing it.
I guess I wouldn't say I'm the most, I love street art.
Yeah.
And from a young age, I was hanging out with a bunch of dudes that were doing lots of street art. I never did anything legal. I couldn't even do a tag. Like that's how bad my artistic skill is. But I could go around and hang out with them and be impressed by what people can come up with. And it was a really cool time. And I look at now how I've always liked the street art style. And, and it's not just me, it's what happens with the people. It's the energy that you get on an exhibition or a show just of people showing off their art. And to me, that was what was the part that really got me into it. I went to a show at Publisher's House, and just funny enough, we've just been talking to Joel Van's Amiga, and he's been talking about, oh, dude, I put on that Publisher's show where I bought 2 pieces of art. One of them I bought for a friend for a present, and I said, if you ever get, he'll be listening too. So, but if I said bought it for Bennett, and I said, when you get a place to put this up, it was a Soffels piece, and he loves Soffels. And about 4 years later, it might have been 5 years later, he rang me up. He said, I've got the place for the piece, so here you go. So I gave him this piece. And I bought a piece there from a guy from Owl Rock. And the pieces are amazing. And when you talk to the artist about, this was a picture of a lady, blue face, and it's like, it must have been a chick that had the hots for or something. Not at all. He was like, that's just a face I see that I can draw.
Wow.
And I was like, really? And then you got to have a chat about, no, I just used to come up with that. And then he'd show me other pieces of art where the same face, and it's through no pictures or anything. It's just exactly how he sees it.
Just inspiration.
I just don't I have not that talent at all. I think I can put pieces together, but definitely cannot draw. And to abstract think that, and then to visualize it and actually do it, it's amazing.
It's pretty amazing, and it's like it's something our kids are born with, that ability, and it's kind of crushed out of them as they go through the school system. That ability to be creative. I saw a really great TED talk recently where they were talking about that, and in particular how important it is for them to be able to think creatively at work. Forget the arts, but you need to be able to be a creative person. And the most important skill based on LinkedIn is being creative. Coming to the table and bringing your ideas. Yeah. And a lot of people don't have that skill.
This is going to get me started on that. Well, I think the schooling system stifles that.
Absolutely.
And I'm seeing it with I got 2 young girls. They're 5 and 6, and they're doing like 45 minutes homework at night, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? They're at school for 7 hours and they're coming home, and you can tell they're tired. So I watched this documentary, Michael Moore, Who to Invade Next.
Oh, that was great.
Right.
Yeah.
And he goes in, and I thought, this is about invading America. This will be cool. And it was basically, it was about the schooling systems across the world. Yeah. When you go in, I can't remember the school, Stockholm or Sweden or one of those schools, number 1 school, no homework.
Yep.
And he's in there, they sit down, their lunch bell goes, they've got three-course meals for lunch, they're eating cheese and, I love cheese.
Yeah.
So there's
quick break.
And then for a break, and then they speak to it was a head mistress, and that sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? Head mistress.
Yeah, I think that's
right. That's not a mistress?
Yeah, that's it.
It's not a mistress, it's a head mistress. God, it must be something. That's a different terminology. Do you reckon, COVID? Yeah, don't know. So when they speak to her, they talk about, what do you expect when they leave school? There's homework. And they're like, no way. We want you to socialise. We want you to climb trees. We want you to be with your family and talk with your friends. And I was like, they're the number 1 school in the world. And then the top 5 were all predominantly European, Scandinavian, Stockholm, that sort of area. And then you go to America, I think it's number 56. And Australia's, I think, are under 50. And you look at the results and you think, why are we going down a track which we know is probably not best for your kids? Why do we do it? Why are we sending them to the school they're at and then expecting? I've started complaining. I'm saying this homework's ridiculous. Like, it's not giving them time to play and be kids and have fun. Like, fuck, I don't think I did homework. Full stop. Let alone when I was in reception. Like, God.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, they only do like 3 or 4 hours of contact time at school as well in Finland or wherever that country was. Like, and it's outdoors. Like, they do most of their study outdoors. So, like, we're doing something wrong.
Yeah, we are. But why is people not listening about it? That, to me,
don't know.
that's a problem about being creative, because school teaches you this. Teaches you that when a bell goes, you have to be here. Then you have to be here. Then you get this amount of time for lunch. And then you've got this class, go home, repeat. And I don't know, maybe I think a bit different, but I don't respond well to that. I like mixing up things. If you ask the team, they hate how I like things not being. I'm not.
I saw that look.
I'm not a variable. I like things changing. I like things coming in, because if you are so structured, you don't let things come in, and I think that stifles.
Yeah, we just end up being an accountant. Yeah.
I think it totally stifles creativity.
Absolutely.
So how do you think do you think that will be changing in moving forward? Like, once we start to involve a bit more AI that's going to take over mundane jobs.
Yeah.
What's your thought on that?
So,
have you got a thought on that?
Yeah, I do have a thought on it, but it's someone else's thought, because I actually went to see someone speak about this, and they spoke about, okay, so machines are taking over, so what happens with us? It means that we need to be more creative about what we do, How do we make the planet a better place? How do we, evolve as a race, And it's all about that stuff that we need to be concentrating on, and to do that, we need to be creative.
Yeah, I totally think that. A mundane job, and I'm going to go on a limb and say technical legal jobs, no, but initial legal leases and things like that, that'll all be AI. That'll be done by computer. It'll flag a couple of areas to look. You would think accounting would have to take a different way because the specialist accountant knows a lot more than you would think an AI, but you watch some of these AI things and they learn so fast. It's almost frightening to see how quickly they can learn.
Absolutely. I mean, most of the accounting stuff's going offshore already. So, that's the first step, isn't it? And then it kind of goes to, machines and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think there's some roles that are suited for machines, like, picking, things on a production line that you just grab one and, they're the sort of things that I understand machines will take over and do a better job of.
Absolutely.
Right, moving forward. So if we get to things that we have to be more creative, what's your views on these YouTube stars or these people that are using total content creation, which is very clever, as a living compared to the old school movie star? Because once upon a time, you had to act. It would go on the big screen. It would become a VHS or beta tape. And that was the slow cycle. And you could never get a VHS until 6 months after it had been released at the cinema. Now it's changed where the movie's out and literally it's on some live on demand within weeks.
Yeah.
So do you think that they're changing? Do you think we are actually changing, or you think it's just, or they're not?
Yeah, I think so. And I think we were actually talking about this earlier. So, what's the next generation? Generation Alpha or something?
We have this argument. we have this argument all the time, don't we? Because he thinks he's so much younger than us. But I tell you,
than me.
They don't act yet that younger than us. God.
So, I mean, that generation's coming through and, they're all about well-being and, developing their personal skills and lots of personal development and all of that kind of stuff. So they look at millennials and go, okay, so there's all these YouTubers doing this thing and being about the limelight. And they kind of look down on that.
Yeah.
So I feel like there is going to be this transition from what, but in saying that, there's a lot of YouTubers and they're really clever. Like they're not.
They're super clever.
I mean, initially I was like, oh, what's my son watching? Like this is just rubbish, yeah? But to create this content and to keep people engaged and constantly create content and constantly keep people engaged, you've got to have your wits about you. You can't just be creating rubbish.
And I think it's a form of art.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
If you're looking at art, did you have any, did you like any Impressionist stuff, or did you like Renaissance, or is there any artists that pre-1900s that you sort of went, Van Gogh, or I don't know what date that is, but did you look back and think, that they have a style that you particularly like?
I'm kind of all over the shop with that.
That's okay.
So it's like my music taste,
you see
right?
things...
So I like everything apart from yodeling and heavy metal.
Well,
right?
I saw that.
Death metal, actually. So I don't mind a bit of heavy. But anyway.
I don't mind some... I actually was listening to Iron Maiden today, and I was like, I don't think I ever listened to Iron Maiden. For today, what it was? I watched Billions last night, and a dude had a T-shirt on with Iron Maiden, and I got in the car in the morning and listened to Iron Maiden.
Great.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, so my art kind of appreciation is like that as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hate stuff. Like I just genuinely it doesn't resonate with me. And, in the space that we're in, a lot of times it's, there might be some great visuals, but maybe the audio component doesn't gel. It's like watching a movie and there's no sound or there's no music, it's like this weird kind of disconnect.
So not a Charlie Chaplin fan?
Not really, I guess. Not really. There's art that I like and there's art that I don't like. But generally, I kind of see beauty in most of it, if that makes sense.
Okay. I would. Can we, V, can you hook up some like art I show it and we go like, don't like. Yeah? Like a Warhol piece or... Just mix it up for me. That's okay. No. If I see something, I'll show you because I don't want to concentrate.
Yeah.
So if you go to things that you like.
Sure.
And your business, Molten Immersive Art, building a new website.
Yes.
Have you been building it for a long time?
For the last year and a half. Yep. Yep. It's on the to-do list. It's
all falling together.
It's not a priority. When you're on social media a lot, it's not really a priority.
Yeah, it's not your main tool.
No, that's right.
So obviously you've made it clear to why you've pivoted to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a piece there that you did a post on LinkedIn, and the post was in 2018, but it had these big stalagmites, like it looked like, and it was a digital piece, and you saw the weather came in and changed, and it looked like lightning was.
Oh, okay, yep.
It looked like lightning was striking, and I listened to it and watched it. I thought, wow, that's really cool. You didn't come up with that, surely?
It's usually a group effort.
Yeah? And then so your team comes up with this concept. What do you do with the concept? Can you explain the concept in a bit more detail?
Yeah, so it's called Illuminated Forest. So the idea is that they're basically massive lightning structures. I think they're like 12 meters high.
It looks huge. Like I had a picture of a human like this big. It'd be like a human standing here next to this bottle of wine. Like it's like that.
The idea is about it being intimidating, right?
Yeah.
So you walk in, they're like 12 meters high. 12 meters high? That's really high. Yeah, no, 12 meters high.
Yeah.
And there was like 46 of them. They basically pick up on, like they've got sensors, so they pick up on proximity. And they kind of reenact thunder and lightning and all of those kinds of sounds. So you're supposed to feel a bit intimidated, but then there's also other moments which are kind of gentle. But you just, in essence, you're just walking around. It's just like being in the forest, but a digital forest.
So I saw that was a couple of years ago. Did you ever get to make that?
So that was actually for a client in Toronto, and it was supposed to be done this year.
Sorry, client in Toronto, or he didn't pay.
Well, no, it's just, everything kind of fell apart. I mean, it's still there. It's postponed, but, we don't know when it's going to, be activated again. So
the style that you go for, immersive, using multi-sensory.
Yes.
I looked at that piece and I thought, this is like millions of dollars. Is that?
So that was around 1 million US.
Holy hell. So it is that.
It is that. That's massive, isn't it?
Oh.
Yeah, but you know
well,
what?
To some.
It's the tech.
To us it is.
So, the tech is really expensive. We quoted a project recently which we're about to start in Saudi Arabia, and it was to create this massive immersive room. It was a round room, and it had LED screens all around it. It was like 85 meters worth of LED screens. Like high quality LED.
85 meters. And if anyone's been in Adelaide, we've got the Cube here. They've got like the immersive rooms down the bottom, and that looks awesome. And that's like 20 meters?
Yeah. So 85 meters, 4 meters in height, 2.5 million US in just screens. That's just tech.
That's
it's mental, isn't it? That doesn't include the immersive audio.
Is this in some sheik's house
stuff. One of the princes. No, it's actually for a commercial client. Like they're actually an electrical company in Saudi Arabia. So if Drake's ever looking for an immersive room, you know where to come to.
Oh my God, we in here.
Yeah.
Hey, we might be building a new head office.
Awesome.
Yeah, our budget works on a credit card, so.
It's not working, JP. It's not working.
So, have you done anything local in South, like here in SA or here in Australia?
We've done a few mod projects for the Museum of Discovery, so we did a few of those.
We saw a National Museum, Birdsville.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, we did two there.
And then your screens are from the museum. You've got some. Screens? Is it screens?
Yeah, we did that for the History Trust. Yeah.
So what was the history? So what was your scope? Someone comes to you and says, "We want to do put everything on a screen." Is that what the brief was?
That was our first project when we kind of dove into the space. So the History Trust approached us and they said, we want a screen. It was actually for the Centre of Democracy, so a political thing. Obviously, lots of money.
Yep.
And so
is that how it works?
That is how it works. So we basically bought these beautiful screens. So it's like a massive, obviously, iPad. And then, they provided us with the content, and we just basically said, well, this is how it's going to work, and this is how the user's going to interact with it for it to be the best experience for them. And it was actually a really good project in that the client was really happy. But more so than that, like our kind of catchphrase is, creating that childlike wonder. And it was really interesting to watch these people walk into the space with kind of, stuffy political things and then interact with the screen. And you'd have like young kids, but then, 70-year-olds, and they were kind of flicking images to each other and, doing all this kind of cool stuff.
That's fun. It's
that's
really
awesome.
cool. Yeah, that is really cool. So
I don't know if they were learning anything, but that's beside the point, right?
Hey, it's about the experience.
Exactly. Right.
And having that, I look at just, my littlest comes into the room. My phone's off limits because I've set some strict rules on it. But she comes in, Nat's asleep. She grabs the phone, puts it in her face, and then sneaks off and starts going through TikTok, to be honest. But, and I'm like, she's figured out, she knows swiping left and right. She can navigate through the page better than my mum. Not her mum, my mum. Like, she could navigate so clearly through it. And people say, oh, you got to watch the screen time. Like, this is going to be their life. Looking at a screen is a life. If you sit there and don't give them that, I think as a parent, we're stifling their learning. I'm not saying they have it all the time.
Yeah.
Because I've got this rule: no phones at dinner, no phones on the table when we're eating.
So you put your foot down,
I've put my foot down. And
the foot is down.
And even last night I got home early and Nat had her laptop out, and the girls going, "Mum, no, okay," because
that's good.
It's to, hey, we're here, let's talk,
and
communicate later. So, with talking about art, I went to, lucky enough to go to Mona in Tasmania.
Lovely.
And that was fucking wild.
It's mental, isn't
it? I was like, thank God for gambling, because that gave them the ability, because the guy that owns Mona, I don't know his name, but that gave him the ability to build that as a thank you for letting, having an algorithm that runs with what he made for gambling. I was like, wow, that's impressive. Cool. Like, there's some weird shit there, like the wall of vaginas is pretty fucking bizarre. I'm their wife, young daughter, and that's like, yeah, they're vaginas. Yep, it's like 45 of them, like in your face. Yeah. What? As a kid, I thought that'd be a great thing. Not when your wife's there.
Yeah, no. No, you can't really enjoy the experience.
It's like, oh fuck, which one are you? No, I didn't say that. So and in there they had this wall. It was you've been there?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
What did you like from it? Before I tell you what I like, because I'm gonna sidewind you. I like, they had this. I'm gonna tell you anyway. They had this wall that was spitting out water and shoots in the latest topics on Twitter.
Yeah.
Now that's immersive art.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I was actually going to mention that piece. That's really, very cool.
So I didn't. We had a little one with us, so I didn't get a chance to really hear what each part was.
Yeah.
But that part was really interesting because it's like most topics talked about on Twitter, and then it gets printed at that point in time in water.
Yeah, it's really cool, isn't it?
It was cool.
Yeah, and it's it's happening at the moment, which is really cool as well.
What? Sorry,
it's happening at the moment. Like
it's now. It's like right
live.
now. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's in. Is there anything else that you can remember from there? I'll tell the second thing I remember. So we went into another. You got to fucking stop me from talking.
No, go. Knock yourself out.
There's the area there, and the I don't know the name of the guy, but he lives there. He lives in the art gallery. He's got Tesla. That's how I picked him out, because his car. And I was just standing there looking. I was looking up, and I was like, "Fuck, that's someone walking around." And his lounge room is the top of where it tunnels down. So his lounge room is at the top, and you could see bits and pieces into him in his lounge room. And I was like, "Wow, that's really immersive." Where,
yeah, absolutely.
I gather. Are they his ideas for that, or do people come to the museums and say, "Hey, I want to do this"? Because that's pretty out there. And is there many museums like that in the world? So usually what happens,
like the Adelaide Festival is a good example. Yep. So what they do is they have people on their team that actually go around, they travel around the world, and they look for these artists. So they hear someone's really cool, and they go check out their art, and then they bring it to our state or to Australia.
So I think Banksy's been to Adelaide.
Has he?
I believe so.
She?
Yeah. It.
It.
Banksy. I believe Nah.
He.
Yeah. I'm going through graffiti, exit through the graffiti. What's the exit through? Oh my God, it's definitely Banksy in that early gift shop, exit the gift shop. I'll get it. Sorry, I'm going to look so it's going to do my head in. But it's an early piece where the artist totally blacked out. It's definitely Banksy. Yeah. Exit through the gift shop. Yeah. Have you watched that?
No, I haven't.
Seriously. So this here is let's get the exit through the gift shop. That's it. It's Banksy.
Yeah, awesome. Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, cool.
So this here is a series. It is a movie. It's a Banksy film. It's him. Yeah. And it's him. And it's totally blanked out. Yeah. It might not be him. He might have been telling that person what to say.
Maybe.
While we're talking about Banksy, let's talk about Banksy. We talk about immersive, not digital. I know he did a bit of digital with the New York stuff. Must have a team of people because there's no way he could complete all that, or a person could complete all that in one year.
No, most people have a team working with them, most artists, yeah.
And he's just fucking cool.
He is fucking cool.
Yeah. Like, there's no other way to sit there and go, oh, okay, some people they don't quite know, they do know. But
is he cool because we don't know who he is?
Yeah, I think so.
You know?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
I like his mystery.
I like his style.
It's nice having a bit of mystery.
Yeah, and that's what people like.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why, when we create our stuff when we create our projects, what we try not to do is to stick to a particular style.
Yeah.
So we try and keep things fresh, right? So we are always researching new technologies and trying to collaborate with new artists or bringing contemporary artists to our team to create stuff, and that keeps it fresh and exciting for us as well. And that's why it's hard to explain what we do.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, we use a bit of digital and, art and we kind of combine it. And it's always, very large scale and mostly site specific stuff. But that keeps it exciting, for us.
If I talk about Drakes have got a job.
Yeah.
I know Dad and Bob listen to this. So their new job is the Drakes' new head office. We've got a small budget, so keep that in mind. Let's say we needed to make a studio like this size, maybe a podcast room, but circular.
Yep.
It doesn't need to be circular, but and I would come to you and say, we want it cool. So when we're doing a podcast, what we're talking about is fucking floating around. So when people are watching it, they get a bit more of an experience than a boring podcast, people just sitting there watching. But it's about what we're saying. It's not about what's going on in the background.
It's content. It's all about content. JP. Yep.
So could you, if I came to you and said, this is my brief, and you tell me if it's shit or not. Got this room, it's about the size of this.
Yep.
Happy to be circular. Budget's not huge, so this is no government job.
Yeah.
It's a private job. Happy to have something that while we're talking about topics in here, it picks up on certain words and then plays images that it's connecting to from the net.
Yeah.
And then those images, while we're talking about it, get played. It picks a certain time frame. I don't know. I'm so making this up as I go.
Yeah, good.
Picks up a certain time frame and plays. So we're talking about Mona, bang. Some interesting things could come up if we talked about Mona. But anyway, it grabs a word.
Vaginas.
It grabs a word and comes up, and there's no control over it. It's AI run, so it sort of starts to learn JP or Ducks Don't Get Cold Feet style.
Yep.
And it can change tunes that when a meeting comes into the studio, it doesn't show a wall of vaginas.
Yep.
So, okay, is that cool?
You're not going to ask me for a budget, are you?
Yeah, I would definitely. I'll do it at cost plus. Do you do cost plus?
So,
see, I'm thinking.
So we went backwards from a budget, yeah? Because what you've got is a room full of creative people, yeah? So if you say to us, we don't know what the budget is, we're going to come back and go, we can do this thing and it's going to cost you $20 million. Yeah. And it's going to be the best thing in the world. And then you're going to say, we've got 1,000. So we need that up front so that we can go back and go, okay, so what do we use? Because we need to think about the tech as well. Like sometimes we've done some great stuff at the National Motor Museum where we actually use low tech instead of high tech because the low tech, the budget, but also the low tech actually worked better and was more reliable.
Yeah.
So, you need to think about all those kinds of things. There's lots of things that play into, what we can create and knowing what the budget is.
So I say that budget, I don't know, is $100,000. Does $100,000 work? No.
Does $100,000? Yeah. Yeah. So the things that so as an example, the screen that we created at the Centre of Democracy, that was a $100,000 project, just that screen.
Okay. Just the screen. Oh, shit. It's not the whole project.
No, but, that depends on the kind of screen you want. And, there was a lot of hours put into compiling that information and there's a lot of data. So it really depends.
We've learnt very quickly. We were looking at a giant wall for the head office. For the distribution centre.
Yep.
And we really learnt really quickly how expensive the normal, like going from an 80-inch TV, whatever, but to go to a wall, the cost is huge.
Massive, yeah.
And, if you're in a tight room, you can't have it too pixelated.
No.
At a distance on a big billboard, fine, because you can't see it. But in here, you'd need would you do something and go, hey, can't do floor to ceiling, can do like a slit or...
Yeah.
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 Like,
you
can do something. What sort of problems do you come across dealing with creative people? Because I think creative people think a lot different than a content delivered or like a detailed person. Creative people generally think very different.
Okay, so if I compare my business to my partner's business, so he's a painter and decorator, so completely different businesses. Yeah. So if I spoke to my tradies the way my staff, the way he speaks to his tradies, they would cry, because it's that industry. They're creatives. They're passionate. They're sensitive people. So you've got there's lots of nurturing involved with working with creatives. You can't just it's not just black and white. There's lots of building them up as people, and we do lots of personal development, and we have Audible and all that kind of stuff going on for them so they can, develop as people and make sure that they work at home. I mean, obviously they're working at home a lot now, but but generally, they work at home on Friday, so they get to spend more time with their family, and there's all of that kind of stuff that goes on. To make them creative, to make them really appreciate their job and to bring the best to the table.
Being more creative.
Yeah.
So have you heard of the term microdosing?
No, I haven't. What's that?
Where you take a microdose of a drug. So whether it's acid, mushrooms, speed, cocaine, marijuana, whatever it is, and they say you take a tenth of the dose that would get you high.
Yeah.
And then they say, so in this is big through Silicon Valley, they're pushing the microdosing, right? So basically they reckon it enhances your brain to be able to have something where you're not high and can't focus, but there's something there that expands your brain a little bit to be able to get more in tune with your body. This is what they say.
Okay.
So they tell me.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it does. And that's, to me, is that something that when you talk to creative people about, not about art, but, just being creative, you need to be in a certain mind frame to be creative? Do you think so? Or do you think people are just generally creative all
There's
the
this
time?
really good quote, and I won't quote it because I won't do it justice, but it is around being present to be creative. So it's around not thinking, which seems a bit strange, but that's when you kind of sit back and just kind of let it flow a bit, that's when the real stuff happens. And it's always when you're dealing with other people as well. So we have, brainstorming sessions where we've kind of done some research, we come together and then we just start talking, and then the ideas just get more mental and more mental. Like you just, excuse me, that's, we can't do that. But you never stifle that either. Sorry. You just always let them go to the limit.
Yeah.
So, it's an interesting process, but it's really enjoyable.
Which bit? The
just coming up with the ideas.
Coming up. So with your project, you see a project, like I've just given you a brief. That's my brief. What do you do with that? Like, so you're thinking, oh, fuck, pretty boring job. There's nothing coming down from the ceiling. There's no 12-meter things coming down, creating. Like, imagine these things coming from the roof that while we're talking, all of a sudden a thunderstorm comes through. Like, I love that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Maybe go screens all on the roof so it looks like and then it rain and it starts spitting out some vodka or something like that where we're like, oh, we're getting rained on. Like, what do you do with my brief? What do you do with it? Because if people want to come to you about something that is a little bit out there, but is a way to engage with consumers when people are waiting in lines, they might be waiting in the foyer and we can have some like thunderstorms going through or something, or just mushrooms growing or something crazy. Like what is it that? Oh fuck! No one has spilled the fucking wine before. Oh my God!
It wasn't me.
Okay, that's cool. Very good. We can go on.
Okay, so we take a brief. We take a brief. And then what we do with that brief is we kind of get together and we talk about the brief and we go, what do we think? And then we go away and we do a whole lot of research independently. What size
is that team? Like there's you, but how many have you got that you go, oh, there might be a computer person, then there might be a graphic, there might be there might be a musician in there. What people in that group that go away and try and expand on that?
So there's 4 of us that do that. So there's 4 of us that get together and, come up with the ideas. This is embarrassing.
No, poor people can't get out of the cloak of darkness. The cloak of darkness back there.
I didn't mean to make you work today, V. Sorry.
It wasn't you, it was going to be him.
Yeah, don't worry. You need a top up for that. Gosh.
So we walk away and there's 4 of us that do this. Okay, so we get together, we talk about the project or the brief. We walk away, we do our own research. So when we come back together, we've got all these images and exciting projects that we can look at, and we do the research globally. So we don't just hone in on what's happening in Adelaide, like it's what's happening globally in the space. Then we come back together and then we look at we look at what ideas we've all got and we kind of combine them together. And that generally, that's like a 2-hour process that just goes mental.
I could imagine.
And then it's around, okay, this is kind of what we're thinking. Will that fit within the budget? Yes, no. How do we make that fit within the budget? And then we get back to the client, as just like yourself, and go, okay, this is what we're thinking, and we show you our ideas, and then it's kind of like a workshopping thing at that point, because sometimes the clients are like, that'd be really cool, but I'd like some, massive light cylinders coming down from the ceiling as well, because I saw this really cool thing, and then we discuss that with the client. We work through that.
So people would come to you with, hey, you know what, we should do it. I think I reckon there's something there, like, I think supporting SA, creative arts.
Absolutely.
Like we're here in South Australia trying to push the creative arts.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. So I've got the brief, so I can move on from that. So South Australia,
yes.
Creative arts,
yes.
They're trying to make this the creative state, artistic, and the government is really trying to. I'm not going to talk about politics, but they're really trying to say, hey, this is a place to come if you want to express yourself and be seen and taken on a world stage, all from Adelaide. And we're lucky. We're so fortunate to be here in South Australia. Amazing produce, amazing wine, amazing food, coffee.
Absolutely.
We can drive from one side of town to the other generally with under an hour. You can, your house value is, it's half of what it is, in Sydney or Melbourne, but that gives you the opportunity to live maybe above your means in the state. We're talking about wanting to do more movies here. We got people like Rising Sun Studios here.
Amazing.
And why haven't they returned my messages just for the record?
Because they're busy.
Yeah, not busy enough. We got some amazing things happening here. What's you have anything to do with that? Or what do you think of that?
I think we don't do enough here, to be quite honest. So there's very little coming out of the state for for organisations like ourselves. Most of our work, probably 98% of what we do is international, and the rest is here.
98% international.
Yeah. So
Wow, we knew it was a big number because
yeah,
it was, you had projects here in Australia, but the projects overseas seem to way outweigh.
Absolutely. Bigger budgets, clients that I guess it's the culture, yeah. So, Europe is, the arts capital, and so they're not shy, and they know what needs to be spent on a project. Here it's about convincing someone to part with their money, and it's, is it going to be worth it? Isn't it going to be worth it? There's also no trust here. No, this is getting a bit deep, but anyway, a lot of clients here would prefer to try someone interstate.
But see, that's ridiculous.
Because they feel like that's more
prestigious.
prestigious. Right?
We're in Australia.
I know.
It's not like I'm holding onto a Van Gogh from the 1500s. I don't know if Van Gogh's 1500s, but that's where these guys here that was an argument. But it's art takes time. Yeah, it does. But digital, the immersion is changing so quick that something. I look at a car and, if you've got a great car, then engine, like let's say it's a V10 engine, and it's going to be iconic. But in 10 years' time, there's going to be less and less engine cars and more electric cars.
Yep.
In 20 years' time, there'll be a few engine cars that occasionally go because we'll be struggling to get fuel to drive them, and they'll probably be $100 a litre or something like that, and it'll be predominantly electric. You go through 50 years' time, all be electric. Half of it will be flying. We'll probably have teleporting, like things that you sit there and think is so far-fetched, which you look at the Jetsons. I don't know if you watch that.
Yeah, I love the Jetsons. They were awesome. Love animations. Let's talk about animations.
Oh, my God. Let's talk about animation. Hence why you like that background.
It's brilliant.
So I look at that and I think, okay, how do people for me, I'd rather support local.
Absolutely.
I'd rather support my artists here, and we have some of the most amazing artists on the planet here.
Absolutely.
And we just say Australia, but it's amazing. Why don't is it just I don't get it because
it's just the mentality, I guess. You go to Sydney. I mean, we met with Destination New South Wales. We met with all the top people in Destination New South Wales, had this awesome conversation with them. We tried to meet with someone kind of their equal here, and we kind of fobbed off.
So do you need something more from people? Like, where's Minister Peterson and all of this? Like, do you need people that are out there actively and Dave's he's actively looking for things to help this state become more of a destination state.
Yeah.
Do you have that tie-in with the government that you can? I'm not going to bang on about politics, but no.
I actually don't. I haven't. You know what? To be honest, we've been so busy. It's been 2 years of just pumping out work internationally that we haven't really spent much time focusing here. Like, we're based here, but it doesn't feel like we're creating work here, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it feels like it's all over the place, but here, and it's upsetting. Like, it's actually quite disappointing that our own state doesn't appreciate, what we're capable of doing, whereas the US think we're amazing, and the UK, and so
that's the thing I think we need to talk about, because we're in a position to be able to speak to people that should be able to get jobs done for people that are here in South Australia.
Absolutely.
And I think if you had a budget given to you, Drake's $100,000 budget, big project, things coming from the roof, fucking raining, you would jump at it.
Absolutely.
But, you should be given first preference over things that are happening within the country to be able to put pieces that are worldwide stage, spectacular, which make people go, oh, like the Mona in Tasmania, to me, that's impressive. And if I was fully into art, I would go out of my way to go, and people do. They must get people from all around the world that go there because it's quite unique. How do you make something that's that unique? Could you make something that, okay, this is a Immersive Museum. Is there such a thing?
There is. So Team Lab in Japan.
They're ruined. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you've heard of Team Lab, I guess, in Japan.
Yep.
So they purposely built a digital museum, so borderless in Tokyo. And what's awesome about what they've done is they've created something completely new. So they've kind of started this massive trend. But what's really exciting is the stats that have come out of that. So after their first year of operation, 50% of the people that visited the museum were from overseas. But what's really cool is that 50% of those travelled just to see that.
That stat is amazing.
Right.
So, yeah. So, do you want to tell everyone what Team Lab, like what's...
Yeah, so Team Lab basically set
up
up a massive digital museum which has, I think it's like 520 projectors, 490 computers that run these projectors and basically project off of the walls and create this fully immersive experience. They also kind of construct little things. So they've got this really cool waterfall and you've probably seen it. You should check it out. If you have not seen it, you should check it out. But basically, what they do has gone global. And
it looks fucking awesome.
It's amazing. Amazing.
I'm looking at that now.
Yeah.
Like this...
That's incredible, isn't it? So that's all sensors, yeah. So the thing you're looking at is like lanterns. No, that's okay. So
that's the waterfall.
So that's the waterfall, yeah. So you can see that people are actually standing on some kind of platform there, but that's minimal to construct. So what's cool about what they do is, in essence, they've got this like shell of a building with all these projectors. So all they have to do is create new content once the infrastructure is in place, and it's a completely different experience.
It looks amazing.
It is amazing.
So have you ever tried to pitch something? It looks expensive though.
It is.
Yeah. So, should I not talk? So I talk art, I should never talk about price.
Okay, so we pitched a similar thing to a client in San Francisco, and just for the infrastructure, it was around $10 million, and the room was 2,000 square meters, and that's 10,000 square meters.
To me, I would rather money go into something that's going to bring people into this state.
Absolutely.
Than to people that don't work and actually get a lot of money when they don't need it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the great thing about that, JP, is that it doesn't take much to change it, which means it's always going to be relevant to locals as well as tourists, right? Because you just update the content.
It's super cool. 50% have specifically gone to Japan to go to that.
Just to go to that.
And if Adelaide had something like that, now we've got a few more direct flights coming in. So that's the sort of thing I think with the regards to the graphic design, or that's more animation. So animations, I'm guessing, is your sort of key.
Oh, it's just one of those things.
It's one of them, but it's something you definitely, it's a bit close to that. I just love
animations. You know what? Like, I actually watch animations on my own. I pretend that my son's watching them with me. But I love Ratatouille. It's like one of my favourite movies of all time. Like, I just think it's amazing. The amount of effort that goes into creating those things is just astronomical. And it's so clever and comical and, it's just amazing.
Do you think we'll get to a stage where CGI, computer generated, images, CGI. Do you think we get to a stage where everything is CGI and you just actually don't know?
Maybe.
Because it must be close to that now. I mean, I'm a Rising Sun fan. There's no doubt about it.
They're amazing.
And when I see, like, someone mentioned it and one of the ladies from school, she's the HR person there. And so I just started looking into it. I was like, holy shit, look at all the movies these guys have done. And then they show you what footage they got given, and then they show you the footage that they overlay over the top.
It's amazing. Like, if you compare it to like something like Ghostbusters, do you remember?
Love Ghostbusters.
Amazing movie, yeah. But if you compare the effects to what they're producing now, it's just...
Well, you can't tell.
No, that's right.
And most people watch a movie now having no idea how much CGI is going on. Like
they've got these really cool game shows now.
Hang on. What's the game show? Oh. I'm curious to hear about this. What happens?
Okay, so basically you're in a green room, so there's green screens and everything.
Yeah.
and everything is projected. So you're kind of interacting with this game, but it's all projected live. Oh, what's it called? I can't remember what it's called. It's a really bad story.
So, yeah, but what's it? What?
But basically, it's the viewer is seeing something like Hunger Games. So they're seeing contestants competing live, and the background looks like Hunger Games.
Yeah,
it's mental. Yeah, unbelievable.
Can we try and find that out? That'd be interesting.
I wouldn't even know where to start looking.
So if we talk about, like, you know, obviously we're in the food game.
Yes.
You know, with food.
Love food. Yes.
And most people love food.
Yeah.
And we talk about art.
Yes.
So you've got food and art,
yes.
and immersing those together.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about is that like those sushi where they have sushi off the naked chicks? Is that food and art? Is it?
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah,
so if we talk about immersing, so let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
But if you do something like, you know, a Mona Lisa eating a peanut butter sandwich,
yeah,
is that going too far to, you know, something that's, you know, original, authentic, and then you're mixing a digital immersion with it by having a smell of peanut butter or something like that?
It depends how it's portrayed. Like if it's
not trashing it.
If it's an ad and she's eating a peanut butter sandwich, then that's trashing art.
Well, you know we're in the middle of peanut butter wars at the moment, don't you? With craft and vegan. Oh yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a big.
Okay.
It's a thing. It's a big thing. So forget it. But if someone was to go, no, Lisa, when you look at that painting, it's
that big.
Yeah, it's
like
small,
in reality, it's tiny.
And I remember being in is that La Louvre?
Yeah.
I think I was there. Massive people to get to it, and I was like, I looked and went,
it's disappointing, isn't it?
I hate to say it, but fuck, I thought, what the fuck are people looking at this for?
Yeah, like, it's because it's small and there's all that anticipation before you get there, and there's just hordes of people and you're just going, okay, you can't really look at it properly.
Yeah.
But they did a VR
I was worried
experience.
about someone picking my pockets.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Like I had my headphones on and I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
And I can't tell if she, because I'm pretty sure it's a
she, yeah.
Is smirking or just not.
So they did a VR experience, which was really cool. So they recreated the thing so you could actually sit in the painting and and she would be moving and stuff, and you could see all of the detail in the painting. That was really cool. Super popular. I think in 2 days they had like 80,000 people participate.
So did you have to go there?
Yeah, you had to go there. It was part of a van. What's his name?
I don't know. Who did
Leonardo da Vinci exhibition.
So if you were to use food as an art installment,
yes,
what would you use?
I don't know. Nuts, I guess.
What, cashews, almonds?
Oh, you'd have to use a mixture. You can't just use one.
Nuts.
There's a really cool artist, I think he's Australian, that uses bits and pieces like that. He uses like buttons and creates, like Marilyn Monroe's and stuff like that out of these things. It's really cool.
Digital wise, we're talking.
No, traditional. Just
So I love how you can flip between a digital world and flip between like real life by what you're thinking, because you look at your digital footprint.
Yeah.
And it's all digital. It's all immersion. It's, there's nothing that comes across as real life.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah. That's right.
Is that a real life?
You can say that. A bit rude, but you can say that.
Oops, sorry.
No, joking.
Fuck, just upset my first.
Where's the door?
Is this kind of like pro heart with the spaghetti piece?
It's a bit pro heart. Yeah, no, I think you need to appreciate both to be able to create stuff. So when we come together to create a project, we don't research our competitors. We don't go, or who's doing what in our space. We research art. Yeah, seeing like what great street artists are out there, what great painters, whatever, so that we can bring together all of that stuff to create something.
Okay, cool. So if you obviously got a passion in the digital side.
Yeah.
Do you think, now we know with our business, digital bloody limits everything because of cost, because of it's changing so quickly. We get onto something, and then by the time it's built, you've got the next thing that's coming along. Do you think that the immersion and the digital art is limited by the technology that's available at this point in time, i.e. 2020?
No, I think kind of the opposite. I think people rely on the digital too much. They rely on the technology too much. So one of my pet hates is going into the lobby of a really great building and seeing, the daytime show on this beautiful screen. Like, that should be full of amazing content. It shouldn't be for daytime TV, right?
Shit, you better not walk around our supermarket. You'll be highly disappointed. You'll be seeing pictures of me doing cooking food porn.
But that's cool, though. I mean, that's social, interaction with your clients, but that's different, It's not just turning it into a television.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Do you dabble in graphic art still?
Not really.
Yeah. You love cooking though, yeah?
I do actually, yeah.
So what's your go-to food to cook?
I like to shake things up. So I'm not the, Monday nights is this and it's like, okay, I need a completely new recipe.
Oh my God, you're like me. So do you open the pantry and go, I've got this, I'm going to make this with that?
No, I'm not that creative.
Yeah.
So
I reckon I'm good. I reckon I'm really good at it.
So I get a recipe, but I don't follow it. So I kind of go, that looks really awesome, but I'm just going to add that.
I've got a mate of mine that he follows things to the T, like within seconds. And
I'm too OCD.
He's militant, like Dad's, what is he, Star Force probably. Yeah, he is. He's more higher than that. And he's like militant. So at his house, you drink something, a beer, put it down, bang, it's gone. It's the magic house. You have dinner there, bang, the dishes are gone.
Wow.
And his house, there's not one thing out of place. If he's listening, he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm like, man, how do you get like that? Like, just, he goes, I have enjoyed it. I said, just enjoy it. He goes, I've enjoyed it. It's finished. It's done. I've enjoyed it. I've moved on. Like,
he has enjoyed it in his kind of special way.
Yeah,
right?
Correct. In his own way. And that's the thing I find it's unique that people enjoy things differently. And he loves cooking too.
Yeah.
So you're saying you sort of have the recipe, make it up as you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we generally cook vegan food. So, yep.
You're vegan?
Yeah.
Fuck. Wow. You know how many vegans we've had here?
Oh, really?
No. Oh, my God, 3.
Wow. In 12 episodes, that's pretty impressive.
Well, fitness fanatics, James Newbury, Carla Banfield, Kayla. So it's amazing. Like, originally started, and James is like the 5th fittest CrossFit athlete in the world.
Wow.
And he's just went plant-based. Yeah. And Kayla, which is his partner, we had Kayla a couple of episodes ago, and she was amazing too because she was really they were both on the bandwagon of plant-based.
Yeah.
And I was like, you can't expect, in my mind, super fit people, they need meat.
Yeah.
And then I watched the Game Changers, I think.
Amazing, wasn't it? So good.
And I was like, oh, shit. So I thank James. Now our family does 3 vegetarian days
awesome.
a week.
Yeah.
Going from me eating meat every meal of the day, from bacon, egg sandwich.
It's really difficult because you're used to having like a solid protein and kind of something around that. So to then go, okay, what are we going to make that doesn't have that kind of combination is really, initially it's kind of like, but we need something there. But yeah, after a while you just get used to it. Some of the food is just unbelievable.
So are you vegan?
Yes.
Ethically or because you just feel better?
Initially it was for the animals.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We spoke to Darren Thomas from Thomas Farms Foods.
Oh, yep.
And they go through, they kill like 1,100 a day.
Wow.
And I asked him if he knew the names of all the animals.
Do you name them?
And he was genuine. Like he's a great family. But how do you so you originally started ethical and then went, oh look, I don't mind eating meat, or you're solely vegan?
Solely vegan. Well, plant-based. I like the term plant-based is much better.
We really like plant-based. Yeah. We originally had arguments, but
because vegan, like the connotations of vegan is like hairy armpits.
Yeah,
and,
totally. I'm not going to ask.
Protest. No, there's.
Yeah. Okay.
But then, so we started there, and then we started listening to people like Tyler Tolman, and there's an amazing Canadian athlete, triathlete called Brendan Brazier. He started a company called Vega, however you pronounce it. And he's just done amazing stuff. And then there's an ultra marathon. They run for days. Yeah, and he's a plant-based athlete and just runs for days on like beans. Like amazing.
Well, that blows me away because James was like, oh, and he didn't talk about it for months because he didn't want people to say, hey, you're a vegan.
Yeah.
And in talking to James, I was like, oh, maybe you can have, and he's at the gym and like he's a little bit taller than me, but he's cut. And I'm like, I could do that.
Yeah.
Not at all. And then you watch him train, you think, oh, full energy, no losing stamina. And in my mind, I thought that you needed meat for that.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And then after we do 3 days, like last night, wife's parents came around, cooked a pork roast. It was really nice. Ate too much. And I said to Nat, like, oh, I feel full. Like, I feel full tonight. And I was like, oh, she goes, we've eaten meat. I was like, fuck, we've eaten meat.
It's interesting. You notice it when you don't have it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And that's, for us, it makes sense that because you can see there is a trend to plant-based. Some people go down the ethical road.
Yeah.
And some people go to feel good about themselves.
I think it's about your own journey though. Like I hate people that go, you're a murderer or, that kind of judge people on what they do. I think you need to just do your own thing and everyone just does their own thing.
I mean, because it's just a vegan.
Yeah.
Because they tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. They look down on you.
Yeah, and I think that's changing. And
absolutely.
I think, albeit the bias movie about Netflix, it's definitely changing to a way that it's not like I took my dad to this is my dad's anti-vegetarian.
Yeah.
Has been his whole life. And he's looking pretty good, 72-year-old, got to give him credit. He keeps active.
Yeah.
And he doesn't eat vegetables, but he does. He says he doesn't, but he definitely doesn't go out of his way. We went to a place called Nomu.
Okay.
It's a plant-based only.
Okay, I haven't heard of it.
Ordered him a burger. It was a no chicken burger. And Dad goes, I have a chicken burger. None of us told him. Right? So we were all sitting there. It was in Queensland. It was we were there with a couple of carloads. We're with Dad. And so you've got your supervisor up there and we're all in there. I ordered a meat burger and it wasn't meat, but it fucking looked like meat. It looked like it had blood when you bit it. And Dad got it was called a chickie burger and Dad just picked it up as, it's chicken burger, I have a chicken burger. Not concentrating, eating it. Halfway through, I was like, oh yeah, it's not bad. I wouldn't, righto. And then when he finished it, we said, you realise that was all plant-based? Oh, fuck you guys, that was shit. That was terrible. That was the worst burger I've ever had. I was like, Dad, it took us to tell you that. But it was amazing that they've come a long way. They're getting the numbers out of the ingredients. Yeah. And they're getting the products that are healthier to eat by not, filling them up full of preservatives and whatnot. So it's come a long way.
Yeah, and just a plug for Drake's here. And Drake's at Glenside, which is just next to where we work, has a beautiful vegan section.
Glenside, yeah, okay.
Furl, is it Furl? No, Frueville.
I'll take it. Not my style.
Yeah, so we're in the South Australian Film Corporation building, which is right next door to.
Oh, so you're with the Rising Sun guys?
No, they're not in that building.
Oh, they're just behind Frueville.
Yeah. So awesome.
Yeah.
Vegan section.
I'll take it, not mine. But we've been concentrating on the plant-based because we do, well, it's definitely growing. So it's a heavily growing category for us.
Yeah.
And we're excited. I'm just excited about food. And
yeah, look, and even cheeses, which is the only thing I miss about going plant-based, is a good cheese board.
Really?
Yeah. Like the meat was easy.
See,
yeah,
that's
the
thing,
cheese was hard.
But I can be plant-based and have cheese. No? Yeah, vegan I can't. Yeah, vegan I can't.
No, plant-based you can't. Plant-based is plants.
Well, the milk from a cow, that's a
vegetarian.
It's eating grass.
No.
I can pull a very long.
Nice try.
I can pull a very, very long. Okay, I'll give you
No. So, so cheese. Vegan cheeses are getting better, but yeah.
You're on your own in that.
But it's still a way to go.
So you're not eating cheese at all?
No, we have some occasionally. But
cool.
Sorry, vegan cheese. Yeah, not normal cheese. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we go into stuff that you do. Animation, you've mentioned.
Yes.
What is it about animation? So you started off doing graphic design.
That's
correct.
correct.
Is that Photoshop?
They use, like the Adobe Creative Suite.
But do you?
No, I don't. So I hire people to do the work.
Yeah. So how do you find your team? So what is it that makes...
So interesting. So I started working for another graphic design agency as a business development person. And there was a creative director there, and I poached him and started another business. And we still work together. It's been like 12 years we've been together now. And the other team... basically, I mean, they've all been with me long term, which is really cool. But I've used a consultant. So I've actually got someone and hired them to do that component. Because I want to believe that everyone's awesome, right? Like that's just my thing, right? So I'll hire someone because I just think I want to give you a job and you're really cool. But that doesn't necessarily work.
I got pointed at then, but I feel I pick something up in someone, and that's what I want to be. I want to be around them, and but I don't have that with everyone.
No, I don't have it with everyone, but it's not necessarily correct all the time. For me. So for me, it's like, okay, I think they're really talented. So I kind of use the Richard Branson philosophy in that I try and hire someone that's got a really great personality that can be trained, right?
Yeah,
as opposed to
that's why we hired Ollie.
Spotlight. So as opposed to getting someone with awesome skills that's completely up themselves.
Yeah, that's
right. And then you've got to work with for like 8 hours a day.
Yeah, that's so. With us, we asked us pretty basic editing, and we picked up Ollie somewhere along the lines there. In fact, it was Christmas Eve somewhere. It was at Fulham. He was editing, and I went up next to him and said, "What are you doing?" He was editing something. I was like, "Oh," and then not long after that, Michelle said, "Oh, you got this kid that works for you that edits." I was like, "Oh," I looked at his stuff. He came for like an interview. I said, "Oh, show us your stuff that you've done." Fucking didn't work. He bought a hard drive, right? He bought a hard drive with him that showed nothing.
Oh, well done.
You still
got it. See, here it is. I keep it just in case.
Right? So he bought this,
brilliant. Love it.
It was irrelevant because who gives a fuck? But we're going to go over 4 o'clock. Is that okay for you?
That's all right. Yeah, cool.
So he bought it in and none of it fucking worked. It was fucking hilarious. So here's this kid to show off his work.
Yeah.
None of it. And I think I said, let's hire him because we
felt sorry for him.
Nah. But one thing that we've noticed is that COVID's his material that he gets out is super fast. And it's a difference between awesome. I can edit.
Yeah.
But I take maybe 10 hours where he'll do it in an hour.
Yeah, cool.
And if you get the right person that we can sort of be on his journey, I don't know, do you want to do movies still, COVID? Yeah. So if we can get in his journey to pump out content, and that was the thing at uni, his lecturer was telling him off for fucking working. It's like
what?
Yeah.
See, don't start me on universities and.
So let's not go into it
let's
because
not there's another.
Trust me,
there's
he's
another
had
episode.
it from both barrels from both of us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what lecturer doesn't understand that? You're getting paid. You're producing more content than anyone that is in your course.
Yeah.
Which you are, huh?
Yeah.
Pretty much. So it's a lay down, Brazil.
Yeah.
No, I haven't said that
But
one.
globally, businesses are actually going to high school now and like not picking people up from university
because they've learned some bad things.
Because they think they know everything, but the reality is you don't know anything until you're on the job.
He thinks he knows everything. Don't.
It's all about you.
Don't
it's
worry.
All about you, mate.
No, it's all part of Ollie. He's part of the team, so we love talking with him.
Yeah.
But for me, that's how we're okay. It's a good mix for us. We're producing out 3 pieces of content a week, pretty much.
Yeah, like cool. That's awesome.
When I look at it, and to have he's starting to get to know how we feel, and obviously
I've had a look. It's really good.
Yeah, and it's great.
Yeah, it's very good.
He loves it as much as he doesn't say it, and he's not excited by everything. He loves it, but it's us working together with him. So I've totally got lots of fun. So, okay.
As I was saying before, I think it needs to be more about engaging with all of the senses. So not so much the visual wow. It needs to be okay. How do we include sound? How do we include great senses and, sense and all of this kind of stuff. But it also needs to have a story. So the narrative is really, really important, and a lot of immersive art doesn't have that. So as an example, Team Lab is beautiful, but there's no story in it. You walk in and it's just stunning, right?
So you go to a movie.
There's a story. So what happens is as soon as you start engaging with the senses and as soon as you start storytelling, people's retention, their memory recall kind of like exceeds exponentially. So they actually engage with it more and they actually walk away from it feeling like they've been part of something really exciting.
Yeah.
So when they walk away from Team Lab, they still think, oh, that's, freaking amazing.
Yeah.
But they're not engaging with it like they will be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And an example in Queensland, there's a 3D place.
Yep.
And my girls went there as part of, we did the Drake conference and one of the things was there. They still talk about it now where they had dinosaurs walking past them.
Cool.
They had headsets on where they could look around and feel that it was happening.
So theme parks are doing this, yeah? So theme parks are right into it. They understand that people, you want to, when you're walking past a dinosaur, like if he breathes on you and you get like hot air, right? Like it's just like, that just, it's a completely different experience just watching a dinosaur move, right?
Yeah.
So that's where our industry is moving to. So more like theme park.
And
but in the art space.
So that's more sensory.
That's more sensory, yeah.
Yeah, because they talk about it still. That was a few years ago.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, they
like we want to create something where there's like, giant insects. I don't know if you ever saw Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, mate,
right?
I've watched it a million times.
Right, okay. So, can you imagine walking into a space and you're like walking through grass and there's massive insects and, actually having that kind of experience.
So do you think VR is taking you to that place?
So there's pros and cons to VR, right? What we create is around putting a bunch of people together and having an experience together. So communicating with each other and enjoying an experience together. Whereas VR is very much like I'm on my own doing my thing, having a great time, but it's not really a social thing. So there's lots for VR, like lots of room for VR to grow. And I think VR is awesome. But in what we do, we try and limit how much we use that kind of stuff.
Okay, so you're seeing VR as not you're sort of going more experience.
So it's more about
VR's very clever with getting an interaction for instance, in like a driving game or
but it's a very solitary experience.
No, yeah, you're right. Okay. Is there VR now that's using multiple VR? COVID?
Well, there's like I've got my VR headset, so I play with mates on like a VR.
You play with yourself?
Yeah.
Fuck no.
No, I've just
Not on a Thursday.
I usually play with mates, so like, VR chat, which is like just a social hub sort of thing. You hop into lobbies of 100 people. It's just
but do you see, like, if you're sharing VR, do you see, like, if we all had VR headsets and you're talking your experience, are you seeing what we're all doing?
I can't see what you're doing, but I can see you within the virtual space.
So a lot of people
he can see us within the virtual space, though.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
No,
so it's like there's VR dining experiences, right? So you sit there next to people wearing VR headset and it like, reaching out for, foods and doing whatever.
But do you eat it?
Well, the food gets placed down. It's all, it's all digital and real food.
Really?
Right? Yeah, it's really cool. But
I gotta see this.
But I think it's kind of isolating. I think, for me, it's all about, I want to look at the person next to me and go, look at this awesome projection that's happening on the table and how we're able to interact with that.
Okay, so talking about that, holograms.
Yes.
So I've seen a few cool, I've never seen something in real life, but I've seen a hologram.
Yeah.
But not ones where images come up and it's hologram built. One of our IT guys was talking about, it was a flying thing because he collects stamps. Yeah. One of the biggest collectors of stamps in the world, just down there.
And he's proud of that.
Oh,
yep.
Mate. Understatement.
Awesome.
But he was at an event.
At least he's got a passion, right? That's exciting.
Yeah, correct. And he was at an event and they had Sir Charles Kingsford Smith's plane hologrammed.
Oh, wow.
And he showed me a photo and it looked cool, but he said when you were there, it looks like this is in Adelaide.
Yeah.
And he said it was amazing.
Yeah.
So to me, is that what you're talking about?
So yeah, holograms are great. Like there's
why,
this really
why
cool.
don't I see more of them?
Because people don't want to pay for the setup.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So there's this really cool product called Pepper Scrim, which is this really fine material, and you can project onto it and actually form like a hologram thing based on where the screens are, where this like silk material is. Super cool. So there's a circus in Germany that it's a full hologram circus. It has animals and
get out of town.
Oh, really cool. You should check it out.
What's that? Do you know what that's called in Germany? Oh,
no.
Germany.
Germany Hologram Circus. Just do that.
Germany Hologram Circus. But is it like we've all seen Star Wars.
Yeah.
Holograms come up about the message being spoken.
Yeah.
You can tell it fades in and out. And do you think that technology will be enough that, bang, that's a real message coming from President Trump?
I don't know. I mean, they've got that deep fake stuff now,
Yeah,
which they're
the
saying
deep fake
is
stuff's
really
right.
quite scary because while it's cool, right, it means,
Looks
well,
real.
how do we know what we're seeing and how do we trust what we're seeing now?
I agree.
So
if we go, the technology in 10 years' time, 20 years' time,
yeah,
I'm assuming, and my wife had an idea. It's like, she reckons her dad's losing her mind a bit, her memory, his memory, right? But she said, would you be able to podcast him and have a chat, talk about his life and talk. So when our kids want to listen, they go, oh, what a grandpa, when he's dead, well, hopefully not soon, but want to talk about it. And then I started to think about it. If you had a whole bunch of words in the English language that you said, then potentially you could get AI to run how you talk. And then the girls could say, hey, Grandpa, how about this? And you could get an AI answer from him as if he was still alive.
Yeah, I think they've done that. I think they've done that at the Dali Museum.
So
something similar.
That's cool. Why wouldn't everyone be doing that with their parents so they get some memory?
Well, I think because of the expense, yeah. I mean, a museum doing something like that
Yeah,
kind of they can justify
cool.
it, I guess. But yeah, it's
is
really
that something
cool.
that people would think would be cool?
So you can actually have a conversation with a dead artist. It's really cool.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it. The deep fake stuff. You know, when we start to look at it, that some of the imagery is you can't tell.
No.
It's
amazing.
You don't even need to look like the person to get away with it either. Where I thought you had to sort of look like them, but these days you don't. So where do you think that technology's going?
Oh, I'm not. Yeah,
you're
asking the wrong person, to be quite honest.
That potentially is somewhat. Trump could come and say, "I hate China."
Yeah,
pretty much has. And then play that across multiple streams, and people could think that's actually real. That's if people don't know what deepfake is, that's the imagery of commentary, which looks so real that you watch it and can't tell.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah.
You think that's something?
Well, I think it's already something. You know, it's
that already is.
I saw an article just the other day that was talking about how dangerous it could be. I mean, you know, people like to jump on how dangerous everything is straight away, don't they?
Yeah, they did COVID-19.
Yeah.
They jumped on it very quickly.
Very.
Forget about that.
Moving on.
Let's go on to something totally different.
Yep.
You have 5 animal rescue dogs.
That's right.
And I'm going to say this. You're I think the 4th person to come on here that's looking after pets that are disadvantaged. What do you do with these pets? It's a nightmare.
So we usually have 6. So we actually just lost one recently, unfortunately, and they're all kind of geriatrics. So we don't. They don't come to us. We rescue them from a rescuer. I guess we adopt them from a rescuer, and they've all got one's missing a leg and one doesn't have an eye, and but. They just, they're amazing creatures, and they just, all they want is love. And some of them have been treated really badly and some of them haven't. Some of them, we've got 2 at the moment that have come from Burnside, so they're quite pampered pooches, But the others, they just appreciate everything you give them. They're just amazing. And there's nothing better than going home and these dogs just go off their nut when they see you. It's just like this welcoming committee, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
amazing.
It's one of the rarest forms of unconditional love.
Absolutely. If you watch Ricky Gervais, he just bangs on about dogs and just how they're the best thing ever over possessions, over anything. Yeah. They're just incredible.
So you've just done that. You've been doing that for long?
Forever.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh, that's
forever.
awesome.
We've had a few pass over the rainbow bridge, as they say.
If we talk about things that, you talk about LinkedIn.
Yes.
Your top voice.
Yeah.
That's a pretty, you're one of 10 people in the whole of Australia.
So are you.
In fact, there's 2 out
let's
of 10
spin this. Let's spin this one on you.
So there's 2 out of 10. Like, that's a pretty cool thing to get. Oh my God, I've fucking just seen what your keychain has.
Oh, sorry.
Woolworths fucking rewards. I have just you.
I brought that on purpose just to get something out of you.
Oh, it's so funny. So with the LinkedIn Top Voice, we talk about things, and obviously it's about communicating with for us it's industry and customer. Yeah. And it's been a great platform for us to use. How have you used LinkedIn? I don't know. Were you surprised that you got that?
Yeah, very. So I started. It's probably been 1.5 years since I've been doing it actively, and I post 6, maybe 7 times a week, depending on what comes up, I guess.
Yeah.
Initially, it was. I guess I was a bit annoyed initially. So it started from a place of I'm tired of people asking me to create something that someone else has already created. We want to create something awesome, and it was around look at all the great stuff that's happening around the world. Let's not focus in on Adelaide. Let's focus in on what's happening globally.
Well, that's how I started talking to you.
Yeah.
I was watching things that you were doing. I was like, oh, that's cool. And you're like, yeah, that was cool. And I kept on. It was really cool. And the fact that I didn't realise at the time, you obviously collaborate that together, some of it, and some of it not your ideas.
Yeah, so then what I did was I started posting, I started doing, based on a lot of research. So we do research anyway as part of what we do, right? So, based on that research, I was posting lots of global artists and the stuff that they're doing, right? And as my following kind of grew, now artists are coming to me and going, we've just created this awesome thing. Would you like to post that? And I still curate it. So I don't post everything that's sent to me.
Yep.
But what's really great about it is it starts this really cool dialogue with these amazing artists. And I'm having these insane conversations with people in Poland and, Bulgaria and all these kind of interesting places around, let's work together. Let's create something really cool. This is what we can bring to the table. This is what, we can. And it's just an awesome place to be. But what was really exciting about it was because all of the other social media platforms are so different and LinkedIn is so business focused, it was foreign to be showing artwork on LinkedIn. So the business community, I wasn't sure how they were going to react to it, but they've just jumped on it.
Yeah.
Which has been amazing. And they're just unaware.
Yeah.
A lot of them have no idea about this stuff.
I think it's like because you've pollinated a platform that doesn't normally see that sort of stuff. I think we have with retail stuff.
Absolutely.
People are like, oh, okay, it's actually cool.
Yeah.
And you just doing what you're doing, like you said, you've been in some big projects. Is there any project you'd specifically like to tell us about? Something cool that you can...
Probably that kinetic sculpture we were talking about before we started.
Yeah.
So it was a project for the Dubai Expo, which has kind of been put on hold. But we're collaborating with a company in Berlin. So they're creative engineers. I don't know if you've ever heard of that term.
No.
So they basically create these kinetic sculptures. They do all the manufacturing of all the parts. And, of course, they're Germans, so everything is...
precise.
Precise.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
So we come to them and we say, this is what we're thinking, and we do the mock-up, and they say, okay, but the cylinders need to be this size. And so we, reduce the size of the cylinders. And they say, okay, we can have so many on a motor. And then so we reduce the number or we increase the number. And so we collaborate and create this awesome piece.
It's fully collaborated.
Fully collaborated. And it's awesome. And it has projections involved as well. And basically the client's brief was at the end, this thing would move and then would form their logo. So right at the end, it forms their logo.
The thing's hanging from the 12 metre...
Yeah. Oh, not that one. No.
Oh,
this
sorry.
is the kinetic one. So these are gold kind of cylinders, the massive gold cylinders that kind of move up and down. And they form their logo right at the end. It's really cool. So they're all on motors and winches and...
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, you obviously have such a big range of things that you're doing.
That's what keeps it really exciting.
And how do you take on your jobs by whoever's paying the money, or are you quite selective of, you said 2% of your work's here in the country, which is ridiculous, and 98% of your stuff's overseas. Yeah. So do you have to travel for that?
We were traveling for that. But interesting. I mean, this is actually quite an interesting bit of what we do now. So because of, the fact that we can't travel, we have to then, create new alliances with people that we can fabricate stuff here and then we can ship it over there and they can install it so that we don't have to be there as part of that process.
So you'll do the fabrication here in Australia?
If we can, we try to, definitely, depending on what it is. Yeah. So that kinetic thing, we reached out to someone in Germany because we knew that they were the best in the world at doing this thing, right? But if we can, we obviously try and use locals, Yeah,
it's amazing. And when I guess I'm talking about the one we talked about earlier. I haven't seen what you're talking about.
The Illuminated Forest, you were talking about it. Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Yeah.
And you see that, okay, I can understand immersion using music, you're using sounds.
Yeah.
And you're using visual?
Yeah, and scent. That one uses scent, so the smells of a forest as well for the Illuminated Forest one. Yeah. It's really cool.
It's like supermarket. There was a theory that if you cooked bread, people, once they walk into a store, and we went through this stage of cooking bread.
Did it work?
Night. Yeah, definitely. People buy bread.
Because I know they say that for biscuits and when you're selling your house, you're supposed to cook biscuits. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I heard that somewhere.
Wow, okay. Well, if I'm trying to sell the house...
Because it's a memory thing, You walk in and you feel like you're home.
Yeah, no joke. Well, this works with bread. And in fact, it got to a stage where there's a company selling spray of what...
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes. No shit.
But you have in-house bakers anyway, don't you?
No, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So,
does it increase the sale of bread, or does it just increase the sales?
There's no doubt that if we have the scratch bakery, your bread sales are higher because.
Yeah.
But these days, most stuff's par-baked, frozen.
Yeah.
And the customer doesn't know.
Yeah.
Like, what they're buying, and they're looking at it on the shelf. It's so well done these days that we can pull it out, thaw it out, and bake it, and it's just as good a product as it used to be by scratch. And that's where the technology's come. So I love asking this question. And if you weren't, like, let's say money wasn't an object, not that, I'm guessing you don't think money is an object, but money is an object.
Yeah.
If it was like you had bucket loads of it, let's say you just had more money you needed or whatever, and you could do anything on the planet as a career for you, like anything. And let's say it was enough money. Let's say it was $1 billion that you just had sitting in the bank, not tied up in assets, just sitting there. And you could do anything that you wanted, anything. Or what would you be doing now?
As opposed to what I'm doing, like something completely different?
Well, I mean, look, the same thing I'm doing. That sort of defeats the purpose of the question. Yeah. But you can tell me whatever you want.
No. I mean, if I had lots of money, I'd actually probably start a rescue farm, to be honest. I would, yeah. I mean,
For all animals or just dogs?
No, all animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few of them in Adelaide. They're really cool, and they rescue sheep and cows and, and all sorts, and they're just awesome. They've got goats and they're just beautiful.
That's so good.
Yeah.
You've got a very kind heart.
Oh, thank you. But if I was retiring, see, this is a different question, yeah?
Let's say you're retiring. You don't want to look after pets.
Yeah, so I think I'd like to be working in like a garden centre. I don't know. I think it'd be really therapeutic just walking around watering plants and stuff. Don't you think? Talking to them? Like that?
No. I live in a concrete jungle at home. I do not step in that garden. I do not prune a leaf. No way. Like, it's literally all concrete.
Yeah, but okay, it's not your house, right?
Okay.
It's like a garden centre.
Yeah.
You
Cool.
don't live above the garden centre.
Yeah, that's right. You're allowed to do whatever you want. So you asked me.
No, I just thought, if you're in your 70s and you're thinking, just potter around with some plants, I think that'd be really therapeutic. Yeah.
Okay, so if there's something that you could tell a Dorothy at the age of 16, because it appears that the 20-year-olds are 16 these days.
Yep.
If you could tell someone some advice of something that you've learnt that you believe would be benefiting them in the future, what would it be?
I'm so glad you asked this question, because this is one of my things.
Oh, okay.
So I did a lot of study, and it was all around trying to find who I was as a person. And it took me a really long time to get to that. So it really annoys me when I see kids coming out of high school being forced into a subject in university, and they're not even sure, like they're not even mature enough to work out what they want to do for the rest of their lives. So my thing is, it's never too late. Like, you can start studying something at any age, or you can start a different profession at any age. Like, there should never be a barrier around that.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, and if I could tell myself that at 16, that would be it. It would be, don't stress about it. You're only 16.
Yeah.
Like, it literally took me until I was 36 to work out what I wanted to do.
Yeah, so just
and I still think I'm growing up.
Is that following your heart?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's what makes you happy. Like, the thing I keep drilling into my son, he's only 7, but it's like, I don't care what you do. Like, as long as you're happy.
Yeah.
Like, it's really important. I mean, who wants to be in a job for 20 years that they hate? And I've seen so many people in those positions, but the money is good and this and that and whatever, but they're miserable, and they spend more time in their jobs than they do with their family. Well, like, it's insane.
Unfortunately, that's a fact. That is a fact of life. And yeah, that's so cool you say that. I say it all.
Yeah.
I say just do something that makes you happy all the time. I say it to my girls now. Like, we get them doing all this stuff, and if they don't like it, they don't have to do it.
That's what we do as well.
And, try this. If something sticks, go for it.
Absolutely.
And I'd say it to people that work with us. If they're miserable, not happy, like, mate, you don't have to come here. We don't force you. We don't come to your house to make you come to work.
Yeah.
Just do something you love and do something that makes you happy.
But not everyone has that support, though. That's
yeah.
the problem.
And sometimes you can't earn the big money and be really happy. For you, or you might at different points of time in your life, and like you're saying, just do something that makes you happy, because then it won't feel like work and you'll really enjoy it.
Absolutely. Gary Vee, which I'm sure you know of.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, so he was actually talking about a couple of mates of his that were right into computer games, and their parents basically said, you're wasting your life and whatever. And he said if they'd pursued that, they would have been millionaires.
Don't.
Is that a good or a bad?
I love Gary Vee.
There's some amazing people out there.
And to hear,
and he says it exactly how it is. That's what I love about him.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird, huh? I had no idea about that. He's one of my business idols, so I agree
it's
with that.
pretty awesome.
So if there was, these are philosophical. Is that right? Philosophical questions. So if there was one thing that you could do that could change the world and you could actually execute that, what would it be?
Again, I'm stealing from someone else. So the Dalai Lama said that if every child learned to meditate by the time they were 7, there'd be no war.
Wow, I've never heard that one.
Wow, that's a good one.
And I think I understand how important it is for myself to give time to myself.
Yeah.
Work a lot, come home, hectic, a lot. I give myself that time in the morning in the car when I make sure I don't answer my phone, but I get that few minutes.
Yeah.
Do you meditate?
I do. And I do, sometimes I do hypnosis and like my own, like I don't actually go to someone, but, and then other times I, just do gratitude stuff, but I have a ritual. And again, I'm a bit flexible with it. So I'm not like, it has to be this, this and this, but I wake up pretty early and do all that kind of stuff before the day starts. So it's super important.
Last guest we had on here gets up at 4 a.m.
Oh, that's intense.
And starts his routine of like time to himself, meditate, all those things.
Yeah.
And before the day starts, and it's like
5, so not quite 4, but
that's what he does. And
it's amazing how when you get up that early, how peaceful things are. There's something quite
because he should
magical
be asleep
around that time. But I go to bed reasonably early. It's not like I stay up late either.
Well, I think he said 8:30, 9 o'clock he goes to bed.
Yeah,
and I'm like at last night, midnight.
Yeah,
Last
I can't
Dance,
do that anymore.
Last Dance. It's like, there's a little bit more to go on Netflix. Like, I'm on my last episode 9 out of 10. Michael Jordan was an idol of mine, and he was a Nazi.
Really?
Oh, have you have Netflix?
No. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
If you don't
What's
like
it called?
The Last Dance, right? And if you don't watch, if you're not a basketball fan, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That documentary shows if you want something, you have to work fucking hard to get it.
Absolutely.
No matter what you do.
Oh, yeah, you can.
And what
law of attraction at all you want.
Well,
but no, but it's a reality, you can't just sit there and expect it to come.
Well, Michael Jordan, like, nice guy, you always see him, his image and that, but he was a psychopath and everyone had to be on his journey. And
wow,
you learn it, you don't get it until episode 6, 7, 8, I think, where you really learnt, hey, I didn't get this. If you want to be on my journey, you got to be on my journey. And I was like, it was an interesting way to look at it, but an amazing documentary, very well put together, lots of great footage, all stuff that as a kid I watched up. Obviously, I was idolizing Michael Jordan. But once again, same sort of thing. You have to work hard. You have to give yourself time and whatnot. So
I actually started making the bed recently. So have you heard of that one? So if you, most successful people
don't say we're talking about
make
Jordan Peterson.
make the bed in the morning. So it's really important. It's kind of like this psychological thing that if you make your bed,
fuck that.
You feel, I've just started doing it. And you know what? Believe it or not, I had some really good smashes as soon as I started doing that, some really good hits.
So Jordan Peterson, have you heard of him?
Jordan Peterson.
He's done some great, he's very outspoken. He's a lecturer at one of the unis. He had a book, I read it. 13 things of lessons in life. Jordan Peterson. One of them's making the bed.
Okay.
And I'm like, fuck that. I when I come back to bed, I move that sheet. Why would I make it? I'm going to do exactly the same
It's
movement.
actually a pride that you actually feel really good about doing it.
Okay. You
and
don't
then
need
when
to
you
read
come
the book.
back
You
to
don't
it,
need,
you feel
you don't
really
need to
good
read the book. He says exactly that. And
does he? Okay.
Yeah. I don't. But I really enjoy listening to him. The way he explains things, it makes sense to me. Reading his book, I started to do a Jim Quick.
Yeah.
Speed reading, memory. Do you listen to that? You know Jimmy Quick?
No.
So speed reading, good memory stuff. And I went and did the course. It was an online course. And I think I drove everyone around me nuts.
Really?
Yeah,
I was learning about the sex dolls again.
No. I was the element chart and blah blah blah. They teach you to do 1 to 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 and 60. I think I got up to 80 or so. I think I could do the top 80 elements in order in a story.
Wow.
And now I can't remember. I would need to look at it once to get me back into the tune, but it was to put it into a story.
Cool.
And in the story talks about the oxygen, the two, like the breath, or like the hydrogen floats in the air, and it's in lithium, and so I could go through the elements pretty solidly, and then you learn to put that into a place into your house, and then when people are talking about you can have an easy checklist, top 10. So you start from your head, ears, eyes, nose, mouth, and work your way down for a top 10.
Oh wow!
Like she always asks me to bring stuff home. I always bloody forget. I don't know if it's a good example. But, talks about the eye. And you put the story where it's a bit made up, and then you remember the list. And then if you want to do more concentrated lists, you go into the houses. And so you go through your house. I rock up to my house. There's my driveway. There's my garage door. I go into my driveway. There's the door that goes into my house. And it talks about using that for memory of things.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, putting into
Jimmy
stories
Quick,
and stuff. Very
if
cool.
anyone's listening, spelled with a K, he's awesome. And so I did it, and it was awesome. I started doing speed reading, started to read a few books, and it's one of those things you just got to keep doing it.
Yeah.
If you'd ask me to do something every day, I'll end up getting sick of it. But yeah, I go back to it, and I still do it. So moral story. Move on.
I get bored with stuff too. Like
is that natural that people get bored with stuff?
Oh, some people need routine. Like my other half has to have a routine, otherwise his life is unstructured and he doesn't cope. But if I have a routine, I get bored.
So I've got a routine.
Not really.
No. V, you routine? No. Yeah, I'm not routine.
Just go with the flow kind of people.
But I'm not routine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not strong. Yeah. I find it difficult. Because as a store manager, which I was a store manager, it's quite routine. But in the supermarket game, we're doing something different every day.
Yeah.
So someone's coming to you, this, and this. But it's difficult. And I think one of the toughest jobs in our business is a store manager. They have to be there at a certain time. They're in charge of all these people. They've been given all these problems, and it's a full-on job.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And with people's heightened elevation with the COVID stuff, and people go psycho.
Oh, it must have been insane.
Yeah, and our staff were just like, they'd had enough. Like people thinking we're hiding stuff from them and not putting it out there and toilet
just neurotic behaviour. It's insane.
Yeah,
isn't it?
and we had the bushfires that brought out the best in the population. Then we had COVID, like a month later, brought out the worst. And I was like, how does this happen so quickly? It does, and we've experienced it.
Yeah.
And now there's, we've just, it's 2020, what are we, June? So we've had the riots and all that going on. And it's like, it's so full on about how people have adapted and changed. And now the fact that the globe is connected, you can't do something without the whole world knowing these days.
You couldn't have predicted this last year, could you?
Not at all.
You couldn't have even written a book like this.
No,
like
at all. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're going to write a book yet, but I have one final question.
Okay, cool.
And it's an important question. If you died and came back as a board game,
yep.
What board game would best describe you or your life? But what board game would best describe you? You've thought about this.
Yeah, Life of Chance.
Wow, you're the first guest to say an answer straight away. Life of Chance. Yeah. So what happens in that board game?
So it's around so you go around the board and you pick which direction you want to go in life. So, that's kind of, that sums me up, I think.
Okay, so that's science, kind of like an educated Snakes and Ladders.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
or
educated.
Choose Your Own Adventure.
It's a bit of Choose Your Own Adventure, which I love. They should so bring that back. And it'd be great to do an immersive Choose Your Own Adventure. We'd love to do that. Can you imagine selecting a room and walking into the room that you've chosen?
Do you want me to blow your mind away?
Yeah, go on.
Have you watched the Black Mirror episode?
No, I haven't watched Black Mirror.
Bandersnatch?
No.
You choose your own.
Oh.
So you're watching it and it says choose. You're going to do A or B, and you choose it, and it changes.
Awesome. Oh, that's so cool.
Bandersnatch.
Okay, I have to check it out.
So it's amazing, and you're like, it's not immersive, but it's in there. So there you have it. We're going to wrap it up. I wasn't quite sure what we were going to talk about today. I had an idea. But I've been blown away. It's so exciting to see this is happening right here in friggin' South Australia. It's very disappointing that the majority of your business is overseas. We need to change that. And I'm definitely going to make some conversations to see how we can get some stuff happening here for you guys in South Australia, because we need to show it off, even if it is our head office podcast room studio.
Hey, baby steps.
Hey, let's take it in baby steps. But I really appreciate you coming in here.
Thank you.
And giving us your time. It's been fantastic. I've learnt so much about how hard and how technically advanced your field is and how long it actually takes you to deliver projects, which is another field in itself. And it's really cool that you're combining all these different emotions and making it immersive for people to experience. And your end goal is to make the person have an experience that they'll never forget.
Absolutely.
And and hopefully that people that's listened to this have got that today.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today.
Sweet.
Really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.